What's up, y'all? A few days ago, my Twitter timeline started getting overrun by people arguing about something. At the time, I actually didn't really know what it was about, but it seemed out of control and ridiculous. So obviously, I kind of felt like I needed to dive deeper, poke a little more, and see what was really going on. So after some investigation, I found out that a teenager, Dagny Benedict, who also went by Nex, tragically died and also identified as non-binary. As you can imagine, her gender ideology became crucial to the story. As the story goes, she was violently beaten to death in a school bathroom and died the next day due to her injuries. And that sounds wild at first, until I started seeing a lot of people who seemed unhinged, to say the least, actively pointing the finger at Chaya, the Libs of TikTok creator, directly blaming her for the death. Here, let's watch a TikTok together by this creator, Rebecca Jones. I think it'll do a good job of getting us caught up on the lore.
So I just posted about the Oklahoma sophomore who was beaten to death in the bathroom of a high school there, in which the Oklahoma teen who identified as non-binary was suspended for 2 weeks for being beaten so badly that they died the next day. And I started sleuthing around into the school district and how the Oklahoma education system goes, and check out this mother. This is the superintendent of education for the state of Oklahoma. Posted this on Twitter the day before Nex was murdered.
So that's like a weird framing right there. Making it seem like this politician who posted a picture with Chaya the day before this attack happened, or the death happened, so it would have been completely unrelated, that this is something you should be angry about, that somebody took a picture with somebody else in the same state that a murder happened in.
And he's standing there with none other than the far-right terrorist, I don't even know how to say her name, Libs of TikTok person, who's even at that point been responsible for multiple bomb threats to school, and had the gall to post making kids safe in Oklahoma schools.
So she's also making the assumption that Libs of TikTok, or the creator of Libs of TikTok, is directly responsible for bomb threats, which is like, that's an insane correlation to make. Without even knowing the facts behind what happened yet, I already knew something seemed very suspect about who's to blame for this death.
With a terrorist. And he posted this the day before this child was beaten to death by their peers in a high school bathroom. And since then, despite the many posts that this person has made, not one apology for their behavior, not one acknowledgement of the student who was brutally murdered in the bathroom of a school. The school didn't even call an ambulance or the police, just decided to suspend the victim for 2 weeks. They died the next day. A sophomore in high school. You know what to do.
So this video has clearly been dramatized. You can tell just in the patterns that she's speaking that she's trying to drum up emotions from her audience. And oddly, the last thing she says, like literally right at the end here.
Sophomore in high school. You know what to do.
I don't know what to do. That seems crazy. That seems like some sort of weird call to arms. Regardless, it seemed like all the rhetoric surrounding this very tragic case, from a person who knew nothing about it, that was taking like a bird's eye view, it just seemed all insane. So I decided to do a little deep dive to figure out what actually happened here, what's true and what's not. On top of all of that, Rebecca is also the person from this article. Married Florida data scientist axed for refusing to alter COVID-19 stats, was fired from university job for having affair with a student charged with stalking, threatening him with revenge porn, writing a 342-page manifesto on their sex life. So perhaps Rebecca isn't the most trustworthy narrator here, especially when it comes to being ethical with children. I was left with so many questions that my autism kind of took over and forced me to get to the bottom of what actually happened here. And honestly, I was kind of unsettled by how both sides of the political aisle seem to handle this news story. I had a bit of a moral quandary while writing the script to this video. It's the first time that's ever happened. I don't want to feel like I'm profiting off this poor child's death, so I'm not going to be monetizing this video. There is a GoFundMe for Sue Benedict, the mother of the child. You could donate to it if you so please, but it's already reached their goal. And if I were you, before donating, I would take a look at what their plan is to do with the rest of the monies. It's not something I personally agree with, so I won't be donating. This is like a buyer beware situation. But if you feel so inclined, I'll leave it in the description. But regardless, let's start off with what actually happened in this case. Dagny Benedict, who also went by the alias Nex, was a 16-year-old high school student from Owasso, Oklahoma. She had been in a fight at school, or rather she had been jumped by 3 other students in a bathroom and was later taken to the hospital. To be clear on a couple facts, the brawl only lasted a few minutes and all students involved were able to walk away on their own accord, including Dagny, who ended up going to the nurse's office. It would be determined that her injuries were not severe enough to warrant an ambulance ride, but she did end up going to the hospital all the same and would be released that same night. The next day, on February the 8th, after waking up and getting ready to go to an appointment, I assume a follow-up doctor's appointment, but I cannot confirm, she would tragically collapse and pass away. During her stay at the hospital on the 7th, we'd get some lore on what led up to the altercation via a text message she had sent to her grandma obtained by Fox 23 News, which read, "I got jumped at school, 3-on-1. I had to go to the ER. Blank, are you okay? All good, just scrapes and bruises. Got a shot in the butt for my pain, but if I'm still dizzy and nauseous in the morning, I might have a concussion. Why did they jump you? What did the school do about it? They had been bullying me and my friends, and I got tired of it, so I poured some water on them, and all 3 came after me. School did not report to the police and is probably getting sued. Redacted." So as I mentioned, Dagny, aka Nex, was non-binary and used they/them pronouns. This would of course become a major talking point and headline bait for left-wing corporate media. The Independent writing Oklahoma banned trans student from bathrooms, now a bully student is dead after a fight. CNN writing the death of an Oklahoma teen after a fight in a school has LGBTQ plus advocates seeking answers. The Washington Post writing Oklahoma non-binary teen died after school fight amid reported bullying. CBC would write non-binary teen in Oklahoma did not die of injuries sustained in school fight, police say. Now that last one is actually extra important because I didn't know until I read it that they changed the headline on that article. While I was writing this script earlier today, that headline was actually very different and was more in line with the other 3 that you saw, placing the blame of her death on getting bullied and beat up by these students. And even if it wasn't implicitly stated in these headlines we just looked at, it would seem to imply that Dagny was mercilessly beaten to death in a bathroom because she had been bullied for being non-binary. Though as we saw with this updated CBC headline, this is not actually the case. According to a local news organization, News on 6, who interviewed the medical examiner who said, while the investigation continues into the altercation, preliminary information from the medical examiner's office is that a complete autopsy was performed and indicated that the descendant did not die as a result of trauma. At this time, any further comment on the cause of death are currently pending until toxicology results and other ancillary testing results are received. The official autopsy report will be available at a later date, so says the Owasso police. So here we have a narrative being crafted by the mainstream media that this poor girl was beaten to death for being non-binary in a bathroom by some unruly bullies, while the actual local news who were covering this story at the time interviewed the police who were investigating this very crime, who would have a completely different narrative saying that the bullying was unrelated. So with the cause of death, or the COD, currently being undetermined, a worst case scenario, even if the assault was the COD, nowhere does any official reporting indicate that the source of the bullying even stemmed from Dagny's gender ideology. Just because she's being bullied, it doesn't automatically mean it's because of her non-binary gender status. Listen, that very well could be true. That is a possibility. Another possibility is that Dagny kind of sucked and she was just being a hall monitor all the time and snitching on people and everyone just kind of hated her. That's also another very realistic possibility for teenagers to bully each other. Or maybe she was kind of autistic and very socially inept and said a lot of weird, cringy stuff that bothered a lot of other students, a lot of the normies, the normal students. So they used her as a punching bag to blow off some steam, which isn't me promoting bullying, but let's play devil's advocate here. Teenagers are raging full of hormones and are pretty much sociopaths. The idea that we're defaulting to her gender ideology being the root of everything here is People just pushing their agenda and using Dagny as a vehicle for it. But discourse from the mainstream media wasn't the only discourse surrounding this case that I found to be unfactual. Something as weirdly divisive as this would lead extremist reactionaries to be extremist and reactionary. So let's start with the extreme side of the left, who ran with this narrative that this was a terrorist hate attack on the LGBT community, which was being promulgated. I tried to use a cool word, I guess I am not that smart. Proglamated by Libs of TikTok. For those who don't know, Libs of TikTok is a Twitter account which mainly reposts unhinged liberals' TikTok videos verbatim, usually trans or genderqueers, highlighting the insane underbelly of left-wing radicalism. If you politically exist anywhere between the far right and slightly left of center, it's a pretty informative look into the ultra-progressives and generally pretty funny. If you're anywhere between the far left and the regular left these days, this account and the person behind it is a Nazi fascist who needs to be burned alive. The person behind this account is Chaya Reichik, whose first and last name sound like a Gen 3 Pokemon. Outside of freebooting TikToks, she also does expose journalism, mainly exposing hospitals for giving out hormones to children, when they've clearly stated it never happens, and going after schools and teachers for distributing gay sex books to children. I saw a lot of people pointing the finger of blame and shame towards Chaya for being the root cause of the death of this teenager, which, on paper just sounds insane. But I'm going to start with this Twitter user, Evan, as an example. For clarity, if you go to this person's profile, he doesn't really cross-promote anything, but he does seem to be a TikTok content creator and at one point was a stand-up comedian. So from what I gather, this person is a public figure. He wrote, "What is terrorism if not this?" And underneath you could see they posted a screenshot of a Daily Cause article which reads, "Libs of TikTok targeted a district, then a non-binary student was killed on campus." For context, Chaya actually does have some political influence in Oklahoma, the state where Dagny's death took place. She was placed on the Department of Education's Library Media Advisory Committee, presumably to try and ban books which teach kids how to give blowjobs to guys, or pop their pussies for a real nip. Chaya's position would become contentious when a school district in Oklahoma, Union Public Schools, would release this memo. Union receives more bomb threats. FBI says threats are not credible. Union Public Schools is once again dealing with bomb threats, naming multiple school sites, some by name and others non-specific. We are continuing to work directly with the Tulsa Police Department and the FBI and are following their guidance. A thorough search was performed of all district buildings this morning and no evidence has been found. Please let us know, blah, 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 that part doesn't matter. We also want to share with you a statement released last night by the Tulsa Police Department regarding the recent bomb threats. The Tulsa Police Department and the Federal Bureau of Investigations closely reviewed and investigated every reported bomb threat. Recently, numerous bomb threats have been received in Tulsa area, which are similar to other threats across the United States. After reviewing all the information received to date, no information has been developed, which indicates that the threats received in the Tulsa area are not credible at this time. To be clear, there are no credible threats at this time. This memo would later be picked up by a Rolling Stones article, Tulsa School District bombarded with bomb threats after right-wing influencer post, which is referring to that Union Public School memo. Though it is technically true, it's as true as saying Tulsa School District bombarded with bomb threats after release of the iPhone in 2007. Steve Jobs much? Nowhere in that memo did it mention that the bomb threats were linked to Chaya or to Libs of TikTok in any comments they've made. Rolling Stone made the connection, saying the bomb threats came on the same day the state superintendent Ryan Walters shared one of Chaya's posts, which doesn't mean anything. That's women's intuition at best. But for sake of argument, let's say the bomb threats did actually stem from this state superintendent reposting one of Libs of TikTok's tweets. The post in question was a repost of a librarian boasting about making your kids woke. I swear to God, I think all women might be dorks. Like, their barometer for what's interesting and worth sharing with people publicly is so busted, but that's a video essay in and of itself. Let's continue. Terrible content aside, If we're saying that Chaya's post caused the bomb threats, and seeing how her post was just a freebooting of a TikTok video, then wouldn't the blame be on the infantilized narcissist cosplaying as a librarian, who should be spending less time on a social media app that was specifically designed by the Chinese government to destroy the minds of our children, and more time focusing on the Dewey Decimal System? I bet this librarian's favorite number is 134. I don't know why, but someone having a 3-digit favorite number is really funny to me. I'm sorry, that's the extent of my librarian humor. I don't have anything else here. I'm really scraping the bottom. Anyway, sorry, I keep getting distracted. This BS Rolling Stones article incorrectly interprets a public school board's memo, and that Rolling Stone article is referenced by another Rolling Stone article, which is the reference to the Daily Cause article, who alludes to the libs of TikTok being at fault for the murder of a teenager. Evan makes a false declarative statement about Chaya from an article that referenced an article that referenced an article that referenced a student memo, which means any sane person would have to go like 4 links deep just to fact check this. Nobody has that kind of time on their hands. And even when you get to the school memo, it's actually now been taken down. So what you need to do is use the Wayback Machine and hope that someone took a snapshot of the website to actually be able to read the original memo, and also know what the Wayback Machine even is to begin with. This is why you should never really trust what you read online, because it's very easy to bury things in linkception. This is what's known as information laundering. Or at least I think it is. I may have made that term up right now. I'm actually not sure. I don't really care to look it up. Either way, it's now officially information laundering. Sue, Dagny's mother, would also take a lot of heat from the Inclusivity clan for misgendering her daughter in the obituary. You see, Sue not only misgendered her, but also dead-named her using her birth name, Dagny. Here's the obituary. Dagny Benedict was born on January 11th, 2008 in El Paso, Texas. Damn, that's so young. She passed from this life on February the 8th, 2024 in Tulsa, Oklahoma at the age of 16 years. Dagny was raised and educated in Owasso, Oklahoma, and was currently enrolled as a student at Owasso High School. She had a love of nature and caring for cats, but particularly loved her cat Zeus. Dagny enjoyed a variety of pastimes, such as watching The Walking Dead, drawing, reading, and playing Ark and Minecraft. She is survived by her parents, Walter and Sue Benedict, 4 sisters, Diana Hobbs, blah, 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 blah. The only complaint I have about the obituary is that it sounds more like a Tinder profile than an obituary. Did the mom not know anything beyond the surface level of her own kid? I've never had to write an obituary, but I would have tried to be, a little more poetic than Dagny enjoyed a variety of pastimes, such as watching The Walking Dead, drawing, reading, and playing Ark and Minecraft. I mean, step it up, Susan. I'm kidding. Obviously, I'm sure this was an extremely traumatic thing for a parent to have to go through. I couldn't imagine it. So, I'm sure the last thing on her mind was writing an obituary. There was many other things that were going through her head at the time. And clearly this thing wasn't designed to be consumed by the world. So I can empathize with Sue. Absolutely. But here's some examples of the discourse surrounding the obituary. Here's Alejandra Carabello, who's a journalist that just kind of sucks, whatever, we won't get into that. But you can see replying to the news story, Megan here says, I saw the obituary from the funeral service, and Nex is being misgendered there too. I don't believe it. This can't be an accident. Next we have... Okay, well, this one was taken down. Whatever, you kind of get the point. Sue calling her daughter Dagny, her birth name, and using she, her pronouns, the default settings. This would be seen as some lunatics as an actual assault on Sue's dead daughter. Apparently I had more examples, but it seemed like a lot of these have been taken down now, which I understand why someone would want to do that. But trust me, there was a lot of cruel and honestly uncalled for statements. And the sentiment of these statements seemed to be very self-centered. So here's a thought experiment for everyone. If your gender is completely dependent on self-identification, then if you die, since there's no one there to confirm what your current gender is, wouldn't it go back to default settings anyways? For example, what if 10 minutes before she died, Nex had wanted to revert back to Dagny and be a normal girl? If gender is fluid and ever-changing, how could one identify another's gender post-mortem? Wouldn't the solution be that in death, we all go back to normal mode? What if you're a woman who's transitioned into a man and after 3 years realizes they've demolished their bodies with cross-sex hormones and gender reassignment surgery, and this whole time they've actually just been a woman, and being hit with the hard truth that they've gone too far and they're never going to be able to live the life of a normal woman ever again, tragically puts a gun to their temple and pulls the trigger. If that detransitioner didn't express that to anyone before they died, did they die a man or a woman? Or are guns to blame and we need to repeal the Second Amendment and abolish the police? Serious question. Poor Sue was bullied into issuing an apology to the LGBT gang, and to be clear, I mean the psychoactivists and not the normal gays. She'd released this statement via the GoFundMe stating, "We at this time are thankful for the ongoing support and did not expect the love from everyone. And as parents, we are still learning the correct forms. Please do not bully us for our ignorance on the subject. Nex gave us that respect, and we are sorry in our grief that we overlooked them. I lost my child. The headstone will have the correct name of their choice. The rest of the monies will go to other children dealing with the right to be who they feel they are. In Nex Benedict's name, God bless." It's crazy to me that the people who preach inclusion like this aren't able to, set their own feelings aside for 1 minute while this grieving parent is going through the process of burying their child. Imagine Kanye ran up on stage during Taylor Swift's funeral for her child and grabbed the mic and said, "Hey, listen, your child was pretty cool, but Beyonce had one of the best children of all time." I'm not really sure if that made any sense, but it made me laugh. Side note, to any of the normal gays who might be watching this video, I'm just letting you guys know, you guys have let the T's and the Q's mess with your PR for far too long. You guys have burnt a lot of bridges. I mean, at one point, I feel like the tolerance level was pretty normal when it came to gays, and I feel like that pendulum has swung dramatically over the past, not even that long, like 4 or 5 years. And I'm not saying you can't get your tolerance levels with Gen Pop back to regular numbers, but you're gonna need to hire a new marketing firm. Listen, if I was an L or a G, or even a B for that matter, I would violently start assaulting the T's and the Q. No, I'm kidding, YouTube, Jesus. If I was an L or a G or a B, what would I do to get back in the good graces of the normal folk? I would start Normal Month. Normal Month is a month where nothing happens. We don't celebrate Black history. We don't celebrate being gay. There's no Christian holidays. The Jews don't get one of their 1,000 holidays. Nobody has to fast or celebrate their country or their flag or some political figure that died ages ago that no one really knows anything about. There's no marching, there's no parades, there's no decorations. You don't get a day off work. It's just a normal month. Nothing happens. I'm thinking probably March. Actually, I think March would be a good month for that. I don't think anything really happens in March anyways. When's Easter? April? I'm pretty sure it's in April. Listen, guys, that's just me spitballing. I will pro bono be a consultant if you so please. Hit me up, just DM me on Twitter if you're gay, and we'll try and make this right. After I'd already filmed this and started editing it, some more evidence came out. The police cam body footage, the body cam police footage, the police body cam footage of Dagny while she was at the hospital getting checked out the day before she died. It doesn't really dispute anything I said in the video. If anything, it actually just reaffirms a lot of the things that I did say, a lot of things that I speculated on. So I figured for prosperity's sake, I would include this new evidence here. So as I said, Libby Emmons of the Post Millennial posted the body cam footage. So let's just take a look at this real quick.
You didn't tell the school where they could actually do something. At any point during this whole situation, and I use the word loosely, but the bantering or whatever it is going back and forth between you guys. Obviously, you know each other. Obviously, you both
don't know each other.
Well, you know of each other with the vape situations and all that.
No, before this we had no recollection. Before this ISP thing, we never saw each other. The freshmen were sophomore.
Okay.
We didn't know any.
Okay.
I don't know their names. I don't know.
Okay. So
as you can see, Dagny had. There's this narrative surrounding Dagny that she was bullied for being non-binary and beaten to death in a bathroom. Wasn't beaten to death in the bathroom, died the day later, according to the coroner, or at least the medical examiner, for different reasons other than physical trauma. And then you can see her clearly here in the hospital, she's with it, she seems fine. I know head injuries can, the repercussions of head injuries rather can show themselves the following day, but I mean, the medical examiner already looked at the body during the autopsy and said it wasn't that. So there's that. Also, she made it very clear right here that there was no history between Dagny and these 3 other students bullying her in the past simply because she identified as a different gender.
So they just up and decided to just start messing with you.
Yeah, because of the way that we dress.
Okay, so you didn't do anything at all at any point in time that would have, even a couple days ago or even a month ago or anything like that?
I don't know these girls.
Okay, all right. So they just continued to pick on you and pick on you. Then at some point, you did what happened? They got up and confronted you in class, or did you say it was the bathroom or the hallway? Okay, the bathroom.
We were going to stack chairs, and after we stacked chairs, we went to the bathroom.
Okay.
And I was talking with my friends, they were talking with their friends, and we were laughing, and they had said something like, "Why do they laugh like that?" And they were talking about us in front of us. And so I went up there and I poured water on them. Okay. And then all 3 of them came at me.
So, I mean, listen, obviously very sad that this person died, but to say that Dagny didn't have a hand in, instigating this physical altercation. I mean, she did turn things physical first by pouring water on someone. But now, whether you agree or not with the other students escalating the situation, that's whatever. Realistically, people live in the world and there's going to be repercussions for your actions, specifically if you turn things from, throwing barbs at each other, throwing verbal barbs at each other, to the realm of the physical.
Pouring the water, because I'm trying to get this in my mind so I see, as best
I had a water bottle.
Thank you. That's exactly. Where did you get this water? Was it a cup you found? Was it your water bottle?
It's my
your daily water bottle you carry around.
It was a plastic water bottle.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so you squirted them with water, or threw water on, whatever it was. Okay. Then at that point, what happened?
They came at me. They grabbed onto my hair. I grabbed onto them. I threw one of them into a paper towel dispenser, and then they got my legs out from under me and got me on the ground and started beating the shit out of me.
Okay.
And then my friends tried to jump in and help, but I'm not sure. I blacked out.
When did this happen today?
So as I've stated, this was not some hate crime from one group of students bullying this poor, defenseless, non-binary student. This was, some kind of catty beef that turned into a fist fight in a bathroom. Cause of death is still undetermined as far as I know, as far as me recording this. So the narrative that the mainstream media seems to be jumping to, it's honestly, it's a lie. Like, none of it is true. Now, as vicious and grossly self-involved as the left can be, clearly, I don't think the right are excluded from that either. I think they could make the same kind of decisions and get the same kind of ire. Chaya Raichik, who, as I detailed earlier, was unjustly on the other end of a wave of hate and vitriol, which was spreading the narrative that she literally killed a non-binary teenager. This didn't seem to sit well with Chaya, who ended up going scorched earth, full force. Around and find out mode. She'd enlist the aid of her followers to help track down people that said mean things about her in DM. And by mean things, I mean people wishing death upon her, which she then framed as them being death threats. This is a horrendous thing to say to someone. I get it. I'm not even against her showcasing the DM to her followers. Where Chaya crosses the line for me is when she tweets this and says, "Here's a psycho telling me to go kill myself. Anyone know where he works or have info about him? DM me." And when one of her followers replies with his current educational status, she asks the university and tries to get him expelled, suspended, or face some sort of negative repercussions. I understand that this information is public and not technically doxing, and I also understand that this guy sucks and can eat a bag of dicks. At the same time, isn't this going against everything you stand for, Chaya? Isn't this exactly what your opposition would do? Why not just pass that information along to authorities if you actually feel threatened, or make the information public and just show, hey, this guy sucks? I'm of the opinion that creators aren't generally responsible for their fan base, because fan bases can just get out of control and do crazy stuff. That's not really your fault. But in my opinion, what it is this person said some vile, reprehensible things. Sure, but now you're encouraging your fans to dogpile and ruin this person's life. It's just a bad play, and it seems anti-free speech. There's also this guy who said this: the students who murdered Nex Benedict will be chased down and will pay for what they've done, including libs of TikTok who caused this murder to happen. You will all be murdered in your sleep. Also sending her a DM saying, you will be murdered in your sleep for evil deeds. You won't even have the time to scream. You will think it's a nightmare, but you can't wake up from it. Chaya would reply by saying, anyone know who this psycho is? And then followed up after gathering intel saying, hey, redacted, I reached out to your employer and let them know that you threatened to murder people on the internet. Doubt they want that liability. I will also be passing this along to the FBI field office in your city. If her intention was to expose people who have said harmful things to her, then why take this one step further by playing judge, jury, and executioner in the public by trying to get them canceled? Royce Lopez summed up my thoughts on Chaya's reaction to this pretty eloquently, so I'm just gonna tell you what he said. Chaya posted a pic of another girl sending her a nasty DM. Royce, the co-host of the Revenge of the Cis podcast, would say, are you gonna make me side with a trans? That's not a death threat. You can hope people suffer and die. It's not against the law. Are you really looking for her employer to try and get her fired? This is what the left does. Cancel culture is gay and retarded, no matter who does it. It's kind of sad to me that Dagny's death morphed into this ball that the left and the right are using to dunk on each other with. Social media has created this dunk culture where the only thing that matters is looking cool in front of your followers while making someone else look the fool. And most followers, by the by, are bots and don't really matter anyways. So realistically, these people's inflated egos are predicated on them yelling into the void to fake people while they think they're a big star on the silver screen. Disagreements and discourse is extremely healthy, but using them as a vehicle to make you look like a good person is super cringe and very low T energy. RIP to Dagny. Pay respects to her in the comments. God bless.